It says, and they said, believe on the Lord Yahushai, and thou shalt be saved, and thy house.
In other words, believe on the name.
That's right. And they spake unto him the word of the Lord, and to all that were in his house. And he took them and the same hour of the night, and washed their stripes, and was baptized, he and all his straightway. And when he had brought them into his house, he said, meet before them, and rejoice, believing in the power with all his house. And when it was day, the magistrates sent the sergeants, saying, let those men go. And the keepers of the prison told this saying to Paul, it says the magistrates have sent to let you go. Now therefore depart and go in peace. But Paul said unto them, they have beaten us openly and uncondemned, being Romans, and have cast us into prison. Now wait a minute, Paul called himself a Roman. You know, I mean, the only difference was he was a Israelite by birth, but he had Roman citizenship.
And that meant that he was born free.
Yeah, and that's the stumbling blocks that the unlearned stumble upon, and it just destroys their understanding.
And have cast us into prison, and now do they thrust us out privately? Nay, verily, but let them come themselves and fetch us out. And the sergeants told these words unto the magistrates. And they feared when they heard that they were Romans. And they came and besought them and brought them out, and desired them to depart out of the city. And they went out of the prison and entered into the house of Lydia. And when they had seen the brethren, they comforted them and departed. Acts 17:1. Now when they had passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where was a synagogue of the Jews. And Paul, as his manner was, went in unto them, and 3 Sabbath days reasoned with them out of the scriptures, opening and alleging that Yahushai must needs have suffered and risen again from the dead, and that this Yahushai, whom I preach unto you, is the Messiah. And some of them believed and consorted with Paul and Silas, and of the devout Greeks a great multitude, and of the chief women not a few. But the Jews which believed not, moved with envy, took unto them certain lewd fellows of the lesser sort, of the baser sort, and gathered
grimy niggas.
Yeah.
Just like you got grimy niggas today, you had grimy niggas back then. And the Most High ain't dealing with no grimy ass nigga, man. All right, the scriptures speak in Romans about change. There has to be a change, man.
Con. Yep. It says, and gathered a company, and set all the city on an uproar, and assaulted the house of Jason, and sought to bring them out to the people. And when they found them not, they drew Jason and certain brethren unto the rulers of the city, crying, These that have turned the world upside down are come hither also, whom Jason hath received, and these all do contrary to the decrees of Caesar, saying that there is another king, one Yahushai. And they troubled the people and the rulers of the city when they heard these things. And when they had taken security of Jason and the other, they let them go. And the brethren immediately sent away Paul and Silas by night unto Berea, who coming thither went into the synagogue of the Jews. These were more noble than those in Thessalonica, and that they received the word with all readiness of mind, and searched the scriptures daily whether those things were so.
Yeah, so in other words, you had certain churches that took what Paul said on face value, and you had other churches that checked out everything that was being taught. So that's why you have guys out there that are following these other guys with their wayward doctrines, because they're not checking and double checking as to what these guys are teaching. See, there's a lot of our people that are being deceived, because there's a lot of deceivers out there.
It says, therefore many of them believed, also of the honorable women which were Greeks, and of men, and not a few. But when the Jews of Thessalonica had knowledge that the word of the Most High was preached of Paul at Berea, they came thither also and stirred up the people. And then immediately the brethren sent away Paul to go as it were to the sea. But Silas and Timotheus abode there still. And they that conducted Paul brought him unto Athens, and receiving a commandment unto Silas and Timotheus for to come.
And you got to understand that they were up in Greece, Asia Minor, and those areas. You know, when Paul made his journeys, they were all outside of Jerusalem and the land of Israel. Why? Because you had Israelites that were all scattered in those areas outside of Israel, the land of Israel.
It says, for to come to him with all speed they departed. Now when Paul waited for them at Athens, his spirit was stirred in him when he saw the city wholly given to idolatry. Therefore disputed he in the synagogues with the Jews and with the devout persons, and in the market daily with them that met with him. Then certain philosophers of the Epicureans and of the Stoics encountered him, and some said, what will this babbler say? Others, some that's your scoffers out there.
Well, actually, that's your that's your scoffers, but that's your black consciousness people. You got these guys, the Moors, and the Islamic sects and Egyptologists, and just black consciousness, which is not the truth. Although they speak good things, they speak of truths, but not the truth.
Right.
And they'll tell you that they came from the land of Kemet, or they came from Egypt, or they're the Moors, or they're descended from the Islam. The people of the original people of the Arabs and so forth. You got that Hamitic doctrine, the Back to Africa movement. And then you got jakes that's in the church. Then you got jakes that are atheists. So that's what that's talking about. You have these guys like on YouTube that have the different doctrines of various different things. Black consciousness, they call it. Which that's not the truth. Go ahead.
And they're all Israelites.
But they're all Israelites, just like the people that he's reading about right now are Israelites.
It says, other some he seemeth to be a setter forth of strange gods, because he preached unto them Yahushua and the resurrection. And they took him and brought him unto Areopagus, saying, may we know what this new doctrine whereof thou speakest is? For thou bringest certain strange things to our ears. We would know therefore what these things mean. For all the Athenians and strangers which were there spent their time in nothing else but either to tell or to hear some new thing.
Yeah, that's that black consciousness music, black consciousness movement. All right, and you see those guys on YouTube, man. I mean, they're sincere in what they're saying, but that's not the truth.
Yep. And it's all anytime somebody come with a new doctrine, they just go into it, listen to it, then somebody else come and say this one thing, and another guy comes in saying another thing.
Or they'll take one part of one guy's doctrine and another part of another doctrine. Sprinkle some Islam on it.
And marry 'em.
What's that?
And marry them together.
Yeah, marry them and all this other nonsense. And then you got the audience of them that listen to him and say, "Yeah, that brother's deep."
Yeah.
Deep in confusion. I mean, it sounds good. If you don't know any better, it sounds good to you.
Yeah, some of them, they add the Bible to it.
Right, they'll add the Bible and they'll quote scriptures and they'll break the scriptures down the wrong way. Then they might go to the Quran, then they might go to the Egyptian Book of the Dead, then they might go to the Kebra Negas.
Yep. It says, then Paul stood...
Ain't nothing but a smorgasbord of confusion.
Yep. It says, then Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hill and said, "You men of Athens, I perceive that in all things you are too superstitious. For as I passed by and beheld your devotions, I found an altar with the inscription, 'To the unknown God.' Whom therefore you ignorantly worship, him declare I unto you. The Most High that made the world and all things therein, seeing that he is Lord of heaven and earth, dwelleth not in temples made with hands. Neither is worship with men's hands, as though he needed anything, seeing he giveth to all life and breath and all things, and hath made of one blood all nations of men for to dwell on all the face of the earth, and hath determined the times before appointed and the bounds of their habitation." That's how you know that the Lord had everything had a season, a time, and a period, to rule, an age. That's why it said, and hath determined the times before appointed and the bounds of their habitation. That they should seek the Lord, if happily they might